Peace. Bye. See you later. Why am I trying to rizz up the camera? Okay, I'm gonna go read now. Hi guys, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Wow, I feel like a little YouTuber, because I am. Today we'll be comparing books to their film adaptations. I've done this before, so this is a part 2. This is the poster I made. Can you even see it? I need to hang it up on the wall, but I'll do that later. So yeah, I'm super excited. I love books. I love movies. That's the 2 things I did in college. I got a degree in creative writing and I got a minor in film and media studies. Yeah, I haven't watched very many movies recently, so I thought what better way to get me to watch some movies than doing this video, a part 2 to the original video, doing this video again. I have 3 books I'll be reading in today's video. Water for Elephants, which I picked for my March TBR, Bullet Train, and I have Bridge to Terabithia. It's the little one. I haven't read any of these books and I haven't seen, well, no, I've seen the movie for Bullet Train. I've seen Bullet Train the movie because Brad Pitt was in it, so of course I had to like watch it right away. But I haven't seen the other 2 movies, so this will be interesting. I think I'm gonna start with Water for Elephants because that is on my TBR, so it does have priority. I think this is a historical fiction. I don't know necessarily what it's about, and it doesn't say on the back. Why doesn't it say on the back? I don't know what it's about. So I'll start reading it and I will probably update you guys and hopefully have a synopsis for you. Obviously it is giving circus, if you couldn't tell by the cover. I'm gonna go read now and I will come back with an update. Back with a little update for Water for Elephants. Within like chapter 1, already bringing tears to my eyes. Anywho, let me tell you what this book is about. So, Jacob is a college student in his last year getting a veterinary degree. A degree to be a veterinarian. And his plans are basically to take over his father's business. However, the week before his finals, both of his parents pass away in a car accident, and this book does take place during the Great Depression, and basically he's left with nothing because all of his parents' money went into funding his education, and so he's left with nothing, no house. His dad's business basically went to the bank, all the supplies and whatnot. So Jacob kind of leaves. He leaves his college life, he leaves home, and he winds up hopping on a train that happens to be a circus train. He just gets a job at the circus as a veterinarian, even though he never finished his degree. And yeah, I'm 90 pages into this book. I believe there's a romance that's gonna happen, but I'm not positive. So this book is kind of told in, I wouldn't say different timelines, but at the beginning of the book you are with Jacob as he's an old man in a nursing home, and he's just like a sad little old man. He periodically has these flashbacks to when he worked at the circus when he was 23 years old. It's all told in like present tense though, so when you're in these flashbacks it's told as if it was real time. It's not like him reflecting and looking back. Him as an old man is just really sad because, you know, he's beaten down, he's lost his wife at some point to cancer. I don't think that's a spoiler. I can't even tell you what would be a spoiler or not because no synopsis on the back of the book. But yeah, even though he's kind of like a grouchy old man, I can't help but love him. I'm liking it so far though. Oh, also I forgot to mention, but each chapter starts with like a little picture. I love when books have pictures. I love it, especially historical books, historical fiction or nonfiction. If you have pictures throughout the book, immediately I'm in love. I feel like I'm rambling. Am I rambling? I'll come back with an update. I just finished Water for Elephants. That was an experience. Like, I really liked this book. Did I like love it? No. I think the circus setting is just so very like immersive. She does a great job of making you feel so many emotions, most of which either being anger or like sadness. But I will say the ending, I thought it was gonna be like heartbreaking, and it turned out being kind of really sweet. I really liked the ending. I would like to point out that there are trigger warnings that you should be aware of if you're going into this book. The first of which being domestic abuse, but the second one being animal abuse. That was so jarring reading this. And like, obviously circuses, especially when this book takes place, are not known for taking care of their animals well. So yeah, be aware of that if you want to go into this, like expect to read that. I'm shocked with how much I liked this book. I think that I just found myself caring so much about what happens to Jacob in the present timeline of the book with him being an old man. It was just like overall a good book, I would say. I'm really excited to watch the movie. I'm a little nervous about it just because I feel like the acting's gonna have to do a really good job. If the acting isn't done well, it could feel super cheesy, and I hope it doesn't turn out that way, you know what I mean? I think I'm gonna like the book more, but we'll see. I watched Water for Elephants. Let me just start by saying, book, definitely better than the movie. Where do I even start? I think they did a really great job with the present timeline scenes. It doesn't have as many as the book does. It just has one at the beginning and the end of the movie. But the way they ended the movie actually made me cry. It made me tear up, but the book didn't make me cry. The movie at the end made me cry. So like, props to the movie for that. However, I knew going into it that the animal abuse you see in the book would be really hard to watch on screen. I had to turn away. I could not watch those scenes. And like, that's no fault to the movie. I just think that for me, like, I would have preferred not to have seen that. Like, if there was a way they could have done it off screen, but then it wouldn't have been as like important. I have two big issues. One, they changed the ending a little bit. What happens at the end of the past timeline, they changed it a little bit, and I don't like the way they changed it. I think it was done a lot better in the book. So I'm a little disappointed with that. And then I knew the acting was gonna ruin it for me. I like Robert Pattinson, don't get me wrong. I just think he's such an awkward actor sometimes. And like, I think you can totally see that in the Twilight movies, and I think you can definitely see it in this movie too. Don't come at me, all you Robert Pattinson stans. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I was just so uncomfortable this whole movie. I think that's my big issue, is like, I would have been fine turning off the movie and just not finishing it, you know? I think it was just really awkward and uncomfortable. Yeah, that being said, book definitely wins this round of book versus movie. I just think the book was so well written. The setting was just amazing. I forgot to mention earlier when I was mentioning trigger warnings, but there's also one for like essay. I'll put it on the screen, all the trigger warnings for this book, and I would highly recommend reading this book as long as you think you can handle those trigger warnings. If you can't, then do not pick up this book. The next book we're reading, and I'm super scared for, is Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. I kind of know what happens at the end of this. I'm not positive, but I kind of had it spoiled for me, and I've tried to like forget all about that. So I'm a little nervous going into this. It is 160 pages, but like I said, like, it's just so small that I think I could get through this today and watch the movie tonight. So I think that's my plan. I think that's what I'm gonna try to do. I will either come back with an update, or I might straight up just finish this book. I don't know. I have cried my eyes out. I just finished Bridge to Terabithia. I'm so unwell. This book is about Jess and Leslie. They live in like kind of a rural area in Ohio. Jess is the middle son. Well, he's the middle child and he's the only boy out of like 4 girls. Not that that's important, but it's like an interesting thing to touch on. And one day, Leslie's family moves into the house that neighbors his, and they just slowly form a friendship. And yeah, it's just so sweet and like wholesome. This definitely made me cry. It was very good though. I don't even know what to rate this right now. I'm just so like overwhelmed. I loved how their friendship really defied social norms and how they just were so happy to have each other as a friend that they didn't care about what other people thought of them, which I thought was just so sweet. I know this movie is gonna make me hurt. I'm really hoping that I like the movie. I'm hoping it doesn't make me cry as much as this one did because I'm already severely dehydrated. So I'll watch that later, probably not till like after midnight, which is fine because it's like 7 o'clock right now and I need time to recover. I'll come back after I've watched the movie and maybe, hopefully, I'll have some better thoughts about the book and the movie. I am back and I watched Bridge to Terabithia. I liked the book better. Don't get me wrong, the movie was good. I think I didn't love all the things they changed about it. So Bridge to Terabithia, the book takes place after the Vietnam War ends, like early 1970s. It's not super vital to the story, but I will say there's a lot of things that are important about it, mainly just the way Leslie is perceived by the community is heavily criticized because of the things she wears, as like she's a girl but she wears pants and that makes her judged by the community and kind of stuff like that, and you kind of lose that aspect in the movie. Leslie just kind of has this thing where she breaks gender norms, and I feel like you kind of miss out on that a little bit in the movie as well. This book isn't getting a 5 stars though, just because there is a lot of fat phobia in it, which I don't particularly love reading about ever. There's like one thing I don't love that I'm not gonna say because it's not like a spoiler, but it's like kind of spoilery about what happens at the end. But Jess does something at the end, totally throws me out of the book. And he did it in the movie too. I hated that. I didn't like that at all. So yeah, not a 5 stars, but it was definitely a really, really good book and I really appreciated what was like discussed in this book. Cried reading the book, I cried watching the movie. Pretty interesting because so far, none of which I like the movie better. However, I think that is going to change with Bullet Train by Kotaro Isaka. I've seen the movie and I really, really like the movie. I know that it's not for everybody just because it is kind of gory. I just grew up watching movies like that with my dad, and so I just happen to like movies like that. But I have heard that a lot of people really, really like this book, and I'm really excited because I've never read a book quite like this. I feel like most of the books I read, if they're actiony, they're like fantasy, and I'm just really curious to see how it plays out. Oh wait, that's kind of cool. The chapter headings is the train. It highlights which part of the train this chapter is taking place in, which is actually so sick. Why is that so cool? I'm really looking forward to this, but I do predict that I'm gonna like the movie better. I'm gonna get started on this and I will come back with an update. I know the audio when I record updates in the car isn't great, but isn't even a reading vlog if I don't update while I'm in my car. Anywho, update on Bullet Train. I'm going to horribly mispronounce names and I apologize. This basically follows a lot of different storylines and they all kind of converge on a bullet train. The first storyline is about Chimera, who his son was pushed off a building by the prince, who is a teenage schoolboy who is an awful human being. So Chimera goes onto the train to basically kill the prince because the prince happens to be on the train at the same time. Second storyline, I think there's like 3 main ones that I'll tell you about. The second storyline follows Lemon and Tangerine, and they are basically like in the criminal business. They do jobs. They're on a job where they have to deliver the son of this head of a criminal organization called Menegishi. They have to deliver his son. Along with that, they have a briefcase. Their job is to also bring back the briefcase full of money. And then the last storyline is Nano, who is nicknamed the Ladybug. He is also in the criminal organization, and he is on a job where he has to steal the briefcase and get off the train. That's like his only job. However, he's a very unlucky person, and so his storyline kind of follows all the bad luck he faces while trying to get the briefcase. I know I did not explain that very well, but the plot is very convoluted in the book itself, so I'm doing the best I can. I'm halfway through on page 206. I'm really not enjoying this, and I feel so bad saying that because I really liked the movie, but I'm really not enjoying the book. I'm really struggling with whether or not I DNF this book. I don't think I've ever DNF'd a book before, but I don't think I've ever wanted to not read a book as bad as I don't want to read this one. Let me tell you what I'm struggling with, okay? I don't know if it's whether like it's the translation or the plot that's causing this. It feels like there's no organization in the writing and in the plot points. It feels all over the place. It can happen in literally one conversation where the character will bounce back and forth between different ideas, and it's just like giving me whiplash from trying to figure out where we are and what's happening, you know? I don't know if that's how it was written or if it's because like the translation kind of messed with it and it's leaving something out. I don't know. I'm really struggling with the prince's character, which the whole point is you're not supposed to like this kid. He's an awful human being. I know that, but when you read from his perspective, it almost sounds like the narrator's trying to like boost him up and show how smart he is for thinking these things, and so it feels too much like the narrator's worshiping the prince, you know? And it just is really, I just don't want to read that. The last thing I think that's really just grinding my gears, every woman in this story so overly sexualized. They will literally only be on the page for like 3 lines, and it's talking about their like chest, or, you know, oh, I'm getting uncomfortable from being looked at by an unattractive woman. Why are we doing this? Like, for example, you want to be rooting for Chimera because he wants to get revenge for his son, and then he'll say some really off-putting things about women. For example, the first time he meets the prince, so the prince is a schoolboy. He is, I think, 14. Oh my, I'm not gonna be able to find it because of course not. This is Chimera's narrator describing the prince. The kid was about 5'4", on the skinny side, with fine hair that was longish but didn't seem to have any weight to it. His eyes were large and clear, shining like a cat's eyes in the dark. Looks almost like a girl, Chimera thought. He felt the thrill of being stared at by an attractive woman and laughed at himself uncomfortably. Why? That, not necessary. Like, you could have said, oh, the kid kind of looks like a girl. Like, I get that. Whatever. I don't see why that matters. But then why do you have to add the part about gets uncomfortable because it's an attractive... Like, what? No. And that's not the first time. Like, it literally... 2 pages earlier, Chimera's waiting for his son in the bathroom, and he goes... He gave Wataru a little slap on the butt, then settled down on a bench near the bathrooms. The accessory shop right opposite had a salesgirl with big breasts and a low-cut shirt, and he intended to sit there and take in the view. It's literally every character. And it makes me so uncomfortable reading it. There are some things in here that's not in the movie. Like, there's a couple different characters that are in the movie, and I'm genuinely curious about how that connects at the end. So I'm really struggling with what to do because I want to know what's going on. But at the same time, why are these characters acting this way? Why are they so annoying? I think I'm gonna try to read for like the next 30 minutes while my boyfriend's in class and I'm waiting for him in the car, and like try to make a decision after that. As it stands right now, I genuinely wouldn't mind putting this down and never picking it up again. Like, I don't care. I've literally been rambling for so long trying to make up this decision, but I just don't know what to do. I will come back with an update once I figure out what I'm doing. long book with Bullet Train. And I know last time I talked to you, I was heavily debating whether or not I even want to finish this book. And I ended up persevering and finishing the rest of the book solely out of spite because I really, really disliked the prince. And I wanted to see him get what he deserved by the end of this book. Like, I needed it. That being said, am I glad I finished it? A little bit, not a lot. I really liked the connections that were made throughout this book between the different plot lines and the different characters. Because you know how I said there was like a lot, well, I don't know if I said it, but there's a lot of rambling with the dialogue. It feels like it could go on for pages and you're not learning anything new. There are some bits and pieces from the dialogue that end up being important. Not important, I wouldn't say important, but they do end up having connections to other characters in some way. It is like a cool little Easter egg, but it wasn't necessary. It wasn't really necessary. I think I'm gonna give it like 1.5 stars maybe, but like a 1 star on Goodreads. The ending, like I said, had really good connections, and by the time all the plot lines started to converge, it was picking up pace and feeling more like action-y, which was what I was expecting from this book. I do not have really anything else to say. I mean, like all the bad stuff about it still continued throughout the book. This is a thriller book, but it's definitely along those like action adventure type vibes. Not type vibes from the book, but like that's what I got when I was reading like the synopsis of the book. Like, it's supposed to be an action-y type thriller. Personally, I feel like action and thriller books should not be more than 400 pages unless you have action throughout that whole thing. If you're building up this book to be an action thriller book and the first 200 pages I'm bored, then you're not doing your job. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but that's just how I felt. It's a 1.5 stars for me. It almost was a DNF. It was so close to being a DNF, guys. That's crazy. I've never DNF'd a book before. And then I watched the movie. I think that movie is so well done, to be honest. I can understand how it could be frustrating because this is supposed to be about like crime underworld of Japan. So all the characters are Japanese. And then obviously in the movie, they do not do that. Brad Pitt is one of the main characters. I really like the movie. I think it is just so well done. The acting is so great. I think it's so like funny too. The movie has some really funny moments. And I feel like this book tried to be funny, but the movie did it well. This didn't. The editing, superb. I love the editing in that movie. And especially when they combine it with the music. Oh my gosh, so good, so good. And that ending, I feel like the ending is just great. Like, especially what they do with the tangerine and lemons. That being said, obviously, book wins over movie. Which is interesting because now we have an equal 50-50 split in terms of books and movies out of the 6 I've read so far. I was worried that maybe because I had seen the movie first, I would prefer it over the book, which was true for Bullet Train, but the other 5 movies on this poster, I read the book first and then saw the movie and still happened to like the movie better than some of them. Very interesting experiment. I really enjoyed doing this, trying to figure all that stuff out. Let's go over a little recap of what I read. I think I started with Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. What did I rate this? I think I rated this a 4 stars. It was just like it was not cute. It was like a good little historical fiction about circuses in the Depression era. I really think my favorite part was the present timeline bits where Jacob is an older man. And I feel like the movie wasn't bad. It just was so awkward sometimes. It just felt so awkward. Then I read Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson, and this is like a children's classic that I had never read. So I'm glad I finally read it. And oh my goodness, this one made me sob. I think I gave it 4.5 stars in my journal. It's super short and it was like fast paced and I didn't hate it at all. I think the only thing, like, if you want to read this book, be aware of a lot of the bullying and fat phobia that's in this book. In terms of the movie, they definitely changed a little bit of the book and I didn't like that. And I think because this book is just so great on its own, the way it was written, I kind of wish they had stuck closer to the book, which they did. They did a really good job. They just took out a lot of the time period parts that felt not important to this book, but definitely helped set up this friendship between the two characters. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but in my head it does. So we're just gonna go with it. And then, of course, Bullet Train, like I just talked about. Did not like the book at all, but I love the movie. So yeah, those are the books we read. It was interesting to see where these movies lined up. I honestly guessed that I would have liked Bullet Train better, but the other two I'm pretty surprised by. Let me know if you've read any of these books and how you feel about them, and maybe let me know your favorite book to movie adaptation, and I can try that one in the next time I do this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!